Hey everyone, how are you tonight? Thanks for joining us. So without further ado, I do want to introduce Michelle. So we're going to talk about Medicare tonight. So Michelle Bishop is a Medicare and life insurance agent that I've had the great opportunity to connect with over the last, I'd say 6 months or so. We've been chatting, and she has a wealth of knowledge. And I know Medicare is something that's really, really, really important, especially as we get closer to retirement age and you're thinking about retiring and you've had your healthcare provided for you all these years through your employer or your spouse's employer. So I wanted her to just really talk today about the ins and outs of Medicare and help educate you on things so you also can prepare yourself as you're doing your own planning with the right questions to ask and with some really good knowledge that's up to date. So thanks for joining us, Michelle. I really appreciate you taking the time on an evening, especially right before Easter and a busy weekend. So thanks for joining us, and I'm just going to pass the baton to you now.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate the opportunity, Jen, and thank you so much for allowing me to come and talk. Before we get started, I do want to mention briefly that the reason why I got into Medicare and why I do what I do is my father passed away unexpectedly in November of 2021. And at the time, my mother was right around Medicare age. And so I watched her have to go from being on her husband's coverage to scrambling to find Medicare, trying to understand the whole system. Like, it was a very emotional time for her. And I just watched her struggle with that. And after seeing that, after witnessing that, I made the decision that I'm going to be the person that my mother needed during that time. So I take this very seriously. All the education I provide and the services I provide are for free. Okay, perfect. So before we get started, I do want to just give a brief disclaimer that I am an independent Medicare advisor, and I'm not affiliated with Jennifer Aubie Wealth Management or any of its associated entities. Any information provided in this presentation is for educational purposes only and should not be construed as financial or investment advice. For financial planning or investment guidance, please consult a licensed financial professional. All right, now that we have that out of the way, welcome to Medicare 101. If you are here tonight, I'm going to assume that you have matured into Medicare or are going to be maturing into it very soon. And congratulations, it's a milestone. I think that every milestone should be celebrated, even aging into Medicare. So what I want to do tonight is help you understand your Medicare options and just have a better grasp on it, better understanding. And I will note too that all the costs shown in here are for this year, for 2025. So who is eligible for Medicare? If you are 65 or older, you are eligible for Medicare. If you have a disability, you're under 65, but you've been receiving Social Security disability insurance for more than 2 years, then you qualify for Medicare. There are certain illnesses, any age with end-stage renal disease or ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease. If you have all of the above qualifications, but you're not a U.S. citizen, if you've been a permanent resident for 5 consecutive years, then you qualify. And obviously, if you're a U.S. citizen and you meet all the criteria up above, then you will qualify for Medicare. Now, if you have Social Security when you turn 65, meaning if you're drawing Social Security, getting those monthly checks, you are, if you don't have your Social Security card, I'm sorry, if you don't have your Social Security, if you're not drawing on that Social Security when you turn 65, then you're going to need to take the step to sign up for Medicare. The great thing about automatically being enrolled into Medicare is they will mail you your Medicare card, and that's going to be 3 months before your birthday. It's a pretty nice system. You don't really have to think about it too much. Now, if you do need to take the step to sign up for Medicare, there are 3 different www.ssa.gov. You can call Social Security at the number listed here, and you can apply over the phone, or you can apply at your local Social Security office. I will say the easiest way is going to be applying online. Unless you absolutely love phone trees and love waiting in line, I would apply online. would be a lot quicker, a lot easier. So let's dive into our Medicare basics. I'm sure that you guys have heard about Original Medicare versus Medicare Advantage. We're going to be focusing on Original Medicare for the next couple of slides. And Original Medicare is really 4 parts kind of floating around, not really bundled together, but they work together. You have the Part A, hospital insurance, Part B, the medical insurance, and then the third part could be a Medicare supplement, and it can be paired with a prescription drug plan. So Part A, or hospital insurance, provides coverage for inpatient hospital care, skilled nursing facilities, hospice care, and limited home health care. I do want to touch briefly on the limited home health care. I had to discuss this in depth with someone the other day. If they wanted to know, like, it says they have home health care, what does that cover? It is 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and it's medication only. So if you're looking for help with feeding, with toiletries, with bathing, Medicare does not cover that, unfortunately. So it's just any kind of medication application. Part A costs. Before we jump into this, I'm just going to say I personally have not met anyone that has had to pay for Part A. Most people that are eligible have paid into Social Security for 40 quarters or at least 10 years. And if that's you, then you have nothing to worry about. Part A will be no cost to you. Some people, they may not have worked their 40 quarters, and they'll be paying the $285 per month. If it's even less than 30 quarters, some people will be paying the full cost of $518. If you don't qualify on your own, you may qualify based on your spouse's work history when you turn 65. But like I said, it's a pretty rare case that someone has to pay for Part A. Now, Part B is the medical insurance. This is visits and preventative care. And the Part B provides coverage for doctor's visits, outpatient surgery, diagnostic screenings, emergency care, and durable medical equipment. Part B costs, the annual deductible is $257, and that deductible must be paid before Medicare can pay for 80% of your bill. So after Medicare pays that 80%, you're going to be responsible for the extra 20%. After your deductible is met, you're going to pay the 20% of the Medicare approved amount for most doctor services. Now, you may incur additional costs if a doctor does not accept Medicare, but I would say it's pretty rare that a doctor does not accept that. So that's something that I'm not too concerned about. The standard Part B cost is $185 per month. It can vary depending on your income. Again, I haven't met anyone that's made enough to boost the cost of Part B. So most people are paying $185 per month. We'll take a look at that a couple slides down. Part B, late enrollment penalty. This is really, really important. So if you're taking notes, please be sure to write this down. If you did not sign up for Part B when you first became eligible and you are not covered by an employer plan, for instance, employer insurance coverage, you may have to pay a late enrollment penalty for as long as you have Part B. This is extremely important that you pay attention to these enrollment penalties so that you don't have to pay them, because I tell you, it can be a nightmare. The monthly cost may go up 10% for each 12-month period that you could have had Part B but did not enroll. So when in doubt, call your broker. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you be aware of all that stuff and know what deadlines are there so that you're not slapped with a penalty that you don't want to pay. Original Medicare generally covers 80% of your hospital and medical expenses, but there are a couple things that it does not cover. Original Medicare does not cover deductible. It does not cover copay or coinsurance, outpatient prescription drugs, any healthcare outside the US, hearing aids, exams, screenings, routine eye exams, and most glasses. Now, this is where Medicare supplements come in handy. Medicare pays the 80% and then you're left with the 20%. Just going to be honest, original Medicare can be very expensive at times. And that 20% may be a lot more than people are comfortable spending each month. So that's why we have the Medicare supplements, also known as Medigap. It comes and it fills the gap for that 20%. It can cover deductibles, co-pays, co-insurance. It gives you the freedom to choose any appointed doctor in the US. It has a monthly cost, and that will vary based on the county and zip code that you're living in. Now, I will add that these are federally regulated, so all the plans have to offer the same coverage regardless of zip code and county, but it may vary in cost. Coverage doesn't change, cost may. I'm not going to read through all of these, but if you guys would like to take a picture of this, feel free to. This is just showing the different plans that are available. Honestly, this is something that we would go into detail on a one-on-one session, finding out what your budget looks like and what your medical needs are. So this is just the difference that are available. I'll leave this up here for just a second. Okay. Okay, Medicare supplements do not cover prescription drugs. Drug coverage will need to be separate through a prescription drug plan or a creditable coverage like VA. If you are a veteran, we can definitely talk about that and see what things would work for you as a veteran. Part D prescription drug plan is going to provide coverage for some prescription drug costs. Now, there's two types of Part D coverage. You have a standalone or an integrated Medicare Advantage plan. The standalone goes with original Medicare, and the integrated Medicare Advantage plan is bundled into that Medicare Part C that I'm sure you guys have heard about. We'll talk about that in a little bit. To qualify for the Part D plans, you must be enrolled in Part A and or have Part B. So basically, you have to be on Medicare and live within the plan service area. Again, I've never met anyone who's outside of service areas, so you should be fine, unless you're really roughing it out somewhere. Let's talk about our Part D late enrollment penalty. This is also a very important one to note. If you did not sign up for Part D when you were first eligible and you did not have creditable coverage for more than 63 days, you may have to pay a late enrollment penalty for as long as you've had Part D. The monthly cost will have a penalty of 1% of the national base premium multiplied by the full uncovered months you were eligible. So the base premium is $36.78. And basically what it's saying is for every month that you don't have Part D when you're eligible, it's going to tack on a 1%. It's going to raise that cost by 1% per month. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about some changes that are happening to Part D. I'm sure some of you are aware of the Inflation Reduction Act, or IRA. And the IRA was created to provide meaningful financial relief for Medicare beneficiaries, including improvements to Medicare. This was passed in 2022, and it has increased access to treatments and expanded services. It provides affordability by lowering Medicare costs and limiting price increases. And it makes the Medicare program more sustainable now and in the long run, which I'm actually glad they did that, because it's hard to sit down and have conversations with people and they're not able to afford things. So I'm very grateful that they have passed this and they're making it more affordable for people. Okay, we can see here the improvement timeline. In 2023, they eliminated copays for vaccines. They also put a monthly limit on insulin copays, so they were paying, you can't pay more than $35 a month. In 2024, they expanded the eligibility for the Extra Help program, so people that were struggling financially and needed help paying for Part D, they expanded the eligibility. And they also eliminated the 5% co-insurance in the catastrophic phase. That's also known as the donut hole, or it's a gap in coverage. In 2025, we have seen the most significant improvements. They have put a $2,000 annual cap on prescription drug costs. So that means you will not be paying more than $2,000 per year for your prescription drugs. They also have implemented monthly payment program for yearly out-of-pocket prescription drug costs. So instead of paying for everything up front, you're able to pay by month. They did the Part D redesign, which means no more coverage gap phase, and they have implemented the manufacturer discount program. So looking a little closer at the 2025 Part D improvements, your out-of-pocket prescription drug cost is capped at $2,000 for the year, and you can enroll into the Medicare prescription payment plan to help spread your out-of-pocket prescription costs over the year. Amazing, amazing improvements. The Part D redesign program consists of 3 phases. You see, you have the annual deductible, the amount you pay before a plan covers your prescription drug cost. Phase 2 is the initial coverage. The plan pays its share of the cost, and you pay your share, co-pays and co-insurance. Your maximum out-of-pocket RX drug cost is $2,000, so you can't pay any more than that. And phase 3 is the category coverage. After you reach the maximum out-of-pocket, the plan will pay your drug costs for the rest of the year. There's no copay or coinsurance for that. And as you can see, the third box there shows that coverage gap or donut hole has been completely eliminated. So that's really just saved people a lot of money in the long run. The manufacturer discount program. Basically, the manufacturers have entered into an agreement with CMS, and they give a discount on applicable brand name drugs. It just makes things more affordable. Okay, let's talk a little bit how the IRA has an impact on your Medicare coverage. Part D plans will continue to bill any amounts owed, not to exceed the max monthly cap for those who switch Part D plans or cancel participation. Part D plans may choose to not cover certain drugs. Please notice any applicable changes and get assistance from your doctor about alternatives. Brokers are here to help too. Plans sponsor liability will increase in the catastrophic phase. So you may see an increase in plan cost when you have lower out-of-pocket drug costs, and you may see a reduction in plan services. The definition of creditable coverage for prescription drug plans has been redefined. Plan sponsors or plans at the Medicare market, if they're unable to meet, that cut off. Okay. Well, let's move on to the next slide then. Be aware of any upcoming changes. Like I said, when in doubt, call your broker. That's basically what these slides are saying. Always be sure that you're reviewing your plans to make sure that it's up to date, because we're here to save you money. We're here to help you find the best plans that's going to fit your budget and fit your medical needs. So you can save on drug costs. If you meet certain income and resource limits, you may qualify for extra help from Medicare to pay the cost of prescription drug coverage. You can apply for that at the link listed above. I'm going to leave this here for just a second if you want to take a picture or write that down. It's a really great way for people that maybe they're on a tight monthly budget and they need help with those prescription drug plans. This is a really great way of making that more affordable for them. Okay. All right. Now that we have discussed Original Medicare, we're going to go into our Medicare Advantage plans. So Medicare Advantage plans are offered by private insurance companies and are approved by Medicare as an alternative option to Original Medicare. It includes Part A, hospital coverage, Part B, medical coverage, and most of these plans will include a Part D prescription drug coverage. So like I was saying earlier, you see the 4 different parts in Original Medicare: A, B, Medigap or the supplement, and then the drug plan. Advantage plans bundle all of that together, so you're not shopping around for all these different plans. It just keeps it. I would say too that Medicare Advantage plans, they may limit your freedom a little bit, but they usually have really good payment plans. Okay, again, this is not something that I'm going to go through and read, but I will leave this up here. Basically, what this is showing is if you make more than a certain amount per year, either single or joint, your Part B costs will either go up or stay the same depending on what you make. As I've said before, I haven't met anyone that's paying more than $185 per month. I would say it's pretty rare that happens. So, okay, let's talk about enrollment periods. This is very important. This can get confusing for a lot of people because there's a couple of different enrollment periods. The first one is the initial enrollment. Excuse me, the initial enrollment period. Wow, say that 5 times fast. You have the 7-month period, the turning 65 election period. That's going to be 3 months before your birthday, your entire birth month, and 3 months after your birthday. You have the annual enrollment period, or AEP, from October 15th to December 7th. I used to be a Medicare wife. My husband got licensed and started doing Medicare in 2018. And when October 15th rolled around, I did not see him for for a month and a half. He's on, he was working. So that is a busy time for a lot of brokers. They're busy because they're helping people switch plans. Annual enrollment period is when you can switch to whatever plan you'd like. And then you have open enrollment period, or OEP, January 1st to March 31st. Now, AEP, annual enrollment period, offers you a lot more freedom to select the plan that you want. Some people may experience buyer's remorse, and that's why they have the open enrollment period, because you can switch to a different plan. But the catch is it has to be similar to the one that you're already on. You can't upgrade it. So, and then special enrollment period is special circumstances within the year. Typically, that's if you lose coverage or if you move to a new area, and those are pretty much the special circumstances. Now, the Medicare supplement enrollment period is, as we discussed, is a 6-month window that begins on your Part B effective date or your 65th birthday, whichever is later. There is no medical underwriting for this, and you can choose from any Medicare supplement plan. The Medicare supplement guaranteed issue situations. If you, like I said earlier, if you've experienced loss of coverage or you've moved to a new area, then guaranteed issue, they're not going to ask a lot of questions. If you do not qualify for a guaranteed issue situation, you may need to undergo medical underwriting, which is basically just looking at your medical history and any pre-conditions that you might have. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about star ratings, just to help you guys understand the rating system so that when you are looking at plans, you know what you're looking at. Each plan is assigned a star rating from 1 to 5 stars. Member satisfaction surveys, plans, and providers. So the member satisfaction surveys play a big part in this. Performance measurements are based on more than 50 key factors. And if you would like additional information on these, you can look at Medicare.gov. Now, my service to you as an independent broker is to provide you with the right coverage. I'm not tied down to any one company. I don't represent any one company. So my job really is to look at your budget and look at your medical needs and help you find the plan that's going to fit both of those things. All of my services are free. I'm here to help you. You have a lot of options. If you are still working when you're aging into Medicare, you can continue with your employer plan. Some people have veterans benefits. I know here in Florida specifically, we have a lot of great plans that work with veterans, and I am really glad to see that, because a lot of people that have worked with the VA have had a lot of trouble with insurance. So I'm very happy to see that they're taking care of our veterans here. If you enroll in Part C Medicare Advantage plan, it can include your Part D prescription drug coverage. You can enroll in a Medicare supplement plan or a standalone Part D prescription drug plan. So basically, we just look at what you're looking for, what your medical needs are, what your budget is. I do one-on-one appointments over the phone with people. Some people love Zoom, some people prefer the phone, but whatever you are most comfortable with. And I do want to leave my information up here for just a minute if you guys want to take a picture of that or write that down. And this is my cell phone number, so you can call or shoot me a text and we can get you set up on something. And that is basically it.
Thank you, Michelle. If you guys have any questions, you can go to the bottom of your screen. There's a spot that's a little heart that says react. And if you click the heart, it'll bring up a raise hand icon. So if you have a question for Michelle or myself, you can click the raise hand and we will unmute you. All right, if you come up with one, I'll talk for another minute. Michelle, I think one of the questions that comes up a lot here, and maybe you can, I always speak to it from a financial advisor planning estate perspective, but you were talking about what Medicare does cover, and you touched on the in-home care in terms of it's not going to cover if you need help with the activities of daily living. And so a lot of times, as I'm working on planning with clients, we talk about the risk of a long-term care event. And there is a misconception. A lot of times I hear, well, my Medicare will cover that. And, you know, my response is it does not. So, I mean, and so I usually go ahead and recommend clients talk to their estate planning attorney, as well as we maybe look at some long-term care insurance and the affordability of that to kind of cover that gap. Can you touch on a little bit about the difference between the Medicare coverage and what long-term care is?
Yes, absolutely. So Medicare, like I said earlier, Medicare is going to cover in-home care, but it's only administering medication. Like for instance, let's think of a crazy scenario. Let's say that someone is, they're on dialysis, for instance. They can have a nurse come into their home and do dialysis, do whatever they need to do. But if that person needs help using the bathroom, if that person needs help with feeding or dressing or any kind of daily activities, Medicare is not going to cover that. So I love that you're recommending these long-term care plans to people because that's going to be the best way to go. Medicare will only cover so much. So that's why it's really important to be informed and to understand the difference between, like, Medicare is only going to cover a nurse coming in and administering medication. That nurse is not going to be doing any kind of daily living activity care with that client. So
thank you. Yeah, I think it's common that that happens where, you know, you do, it's like, it's great the nurse is coming in to do those things, but then if the family, you know, family members can burn out quickly and, you know, people want to hire somebody to come in or even pay family members to sort of incentivize them or, you know, they might have to leave their job to do it. So at least it can compensate them. So I guess incentivize was the wrong word, but to compensate them for helping out with the family and with all the time they may be spending with that person. And while they want to, it will be less detrimental if they can pay them. And some of these long-term care policies will allow you to pay family members as well as professionals to help with that bathing and help preparing meals and feeding and shopping and those types of things. So if you have questions on that, we're happy to help out with that as well here at my office. Anyone have a question in the meantime? Michelle, do you have anything else you wanted to add?
I think I covered all of it.
All right, I really appreciate your time. That was really informative. A lot of the new changes were new to me, so I was really thankful to hear about those tonight. And again, I'm just going to back up again. If you have any questions, whether it be Medicare, Social Security, your portfolio, long-term care, any of these things, please ask. I know that the markets are bumpy. I know that the markets are volatile and it is on everybody's mind. And in terms of making changes, again, you don't want to miss those best 10 days. So I recommend staying invested in your diversified portfolio. You know, if changes do need to be made, it would be based on if you've had a change in your lifestyle. So if you are having a distribution and you need more money right now, or if you're going to need a lump sum for something like a new roof or a driveway or a vacation, or something unexpected has changed in your life, please call me. That would require some changes. But even then, we're talking dimmers, not switches. We're going to do some subtle changes to your portfolio so that you can get what you need ride out the storm and be protected at the same time. So I appreciate everybody jumping on today. I really appreciate you, Michelle. I thank you for your partnership, and I hope that everybody has a wonderful weekend and Easter if you're celebrating.
So thanks so much, Jen.
Thank you.